So there I was.
2016, and I saw a few weeks ago there was these Freddy toys coming out, and back then that was insane. You know, like Freddy has a toy. Freddy Fazbear, that guy, he has a toy. That was insane. So God, the sun's in my eye. Yeah. So I went into Target, and I went into the toy aisle, cause I was looking for something. I don't know. I guess I was just in Target, and I looked in the toy aisle. And so then, when I went into the toy aisle, I saw there's a bunch of Freddy stuff. There was so much of it. And I thought that was crazy back then, you know, because they didn't have any Freddy stuff back then. So it was crazy to just see a whole aisle filled with it. And I think I remember what I was looking for there. I think I was looking for, like, Sonic or Mario figures. One of the two, because those are the only reasons I go to Target now. But they used to have Freddy stuff. They don't stock it anymore. I don't know why. But they had it. And it was a whole aisle. And it was really cool. And they also had it at Walmart. And they had it at Toys R Us. And rest in peace. Yeah, so very cool thing that they had. But they had a lot of other stuff. But the only things that they still had, the action figures. The only action figures they still had were Freddy and Chica. Which sucks. Because I really wanted the other ones back then. But it's okay, because I got Freddy and Chica, and then I went home and I opened them and I really liked them, and then my dad ordered the rest of them for me online, and then yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this story. It was crazy when it happened, because it was crazy, you know. I saw Freddy in the store. That was crazy. That was crazy back then. Crazy. Now let's begin the video I'm making. This video you are watching, you clicked on this video. This video is every Freddy figure reviewed, and I talk about it, and I talk about the pre-release. This video we will be, I recorded this after I recorded all the other lines. This video is, Freddy 1, and Wave 1 and Wave 2. It's gonna be those waves, and the variants of them. And that's going to be it for this video. Alright, so let's start with Wave 1. Obviously the most important wave. Yeah, so let's just start this off. So, in Wave 1, there were, they first revealed Wave 1 at Toy Fair, and these were really cool. You know, back then they were really cool because, you know, there weren't action figures. All we had was the Sanchi plushies. And those were really expensive and hard to find at this point. So, we didn't really have much. So, these were really cool when they came out. They revealed, like, little mystery minis. They revealed action figure. They revealed even freaking emoji figures. Nobody wanted those. I'm sure some people like them, but I don't really care for them. They're just fine. But we're talking about the action figures in this video. So, action figures, they're very cool, you know? They got Bonnie, they got Chica, they got Springtrap, all the characters that people would want in the series. And these prototypes, their paint jobs are basically perfect compared to the final releases, which usually have decently sloppy paint jobs, but, you know, that's not a big deal. Because you expect that with toys. They're like $10 figures. You gotta expect paint mistakes. But, yeah. The main issue people have with these are the sculpts. The teeth, the upper teeth aren't the best, which I agree. I don't really like the upper teeth. But, you know, back then, we weren't really worried about the sculpts. We were more concerned that, like, these look cool. I want them. Freddy figure. Freddy Fazbear. You know, that stuff. So, yeah. Foxy is dark red. Bonnie is... Wait, no, Bonnie looks the same. I thought he looked different. But, yeah, Foxy, is dark red, which the final figure was, like, this bright orange, which I like the dark red better. But we do have an update on Dark Red Foxy later. So stay tuned for the update on Dark Red Foxy. But yeah, these prototypes they were shown off. They're pretty good. They definitely got a lot of people excited for the figures, including me. And yeah, prototypes. Before we go into reviewing the actual figures, if you look at these little mini figures were released by Funko, and they come in little sets of 4. They made a set with Foxy, Golden Freddy, Chica, and Endo. And then they made another one with Freddy, Bonnie, Springtrap, and Balloon Boy. And yeah, these were really cool. They weren't. I didn't really. I bought both sets, but I lost some of the figures because they're really small, and I was a lot younger when I got them. So yeah, they got lost really easily. But these toys were pretty cool. Especially, but 2 of these figures are definitely very noteworthy, especially one of them. So Balloon Boy and Endo are the noteworthy ones. And I'm showing you the back of the box right now. You can see Balloon Boy is circled. Why? Well, because the render they used on the back of the box is different than the one that all the merch websites use. And that render is in the style of the action figures. Like, he's not dynamically posed like all the other ones. He doesn't have any lighting. He's just facing straight towards the camera with no lighting. And the final render of him that wasn't used on the box and was used on toy websites looks different. If you look at the render from that I just showed on the original thing and you compare it to this one, it's different. So, my theory is that Balloon Boy was originally in the first wave of action figures, but then he was probably cut for Golden Freddy, because Golden Freddy would sell better, they probably assumed, which they were right. I don't think a lot of people would buy Balloon Boy. Unless they gave Balloon Boy Springtrap's head and torso, then a lot of people would have bought him just for that. But yeah, I still kind of wish there was a big scale Balloon Boy, but it does give me hope that he might exist someday, to know that he was planned at one point. And the endoskeleton, also, he might have been planned at some point, because the only reason why I think that is because why would his sculpt exist if he was never planned for the bigger figures? Because these little mini figures seem like kind of an afterthought. So and I'm pretty sure a good reason why these exist is because they wanted to get use out of those molds they made for the endoskeleton and Balloon Boy. That's at least my theory. And it kind of sucks that they never came out, because they're really cool. But yeah, Endo and Balloon Boy were originally planned to be in the first wave. Prototypes, yeah, that's basically the history. We're gonna have a lot less for the other waves, since there's not really a lot of They never really showed off prototypes for any of the other waves, which kind of sucks. Also, honorable mention, there's this giant Freddy there too. That's kind of cool. It's like Freddy, but he's really big. It's like they re-sculpted Freddy in the really big scale. Apparently this is still at Funko's headquarters. It's in the horror booth. So, that's cool. That's all I have to say. Alright, let's start with the first figure in the series, Freddy Fazbear. So, interestingly, well, not really interestingly, they forgot to put Fazbear on the box, which I find kind of interesting. But, let's just look at the figure. So, his sculpt, like I said earlier with the prototypes, upper teeth honestly look bigger than the prototype, which is bad. The ears stick out a lot, and it looks really off. Yeah, so there's just overall a lot of wonky design choices with him. I think the main thing that makes him look bad is the ears and the upper teeth, which I made a custom to fix that. But another few odd design choices are his his eyes are really light blue, which Freddy has like dark kind of ocean blue eyes. So it's kind of weird that they gave him that light of a blue color. I forgot if the prototype had that. Because I wasn't paying attention to his eyes when I looked at the image. But that is there, and it's kind of bad. It makes his eyes look really tiny, which they aren't. But yeah, overall, I think the figure as a whole, um, isn't too bad. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot more low effort, but the figure's pretty good. The main thing that people don't like about these figures, it's agreed upon, is that the joints are very loose. These figures have really loose joints, and they fall off really easily. They can be snapped back on just as easily, but it's still an issue. The joints also crack sometimes on these figures, but I wouldn't worry about that happening too often because they aren't very, but as they get older, it's probably going to be more and more likely for them to crack. So just be careful with these guys. Um if you look in another issue with him is that he can't quite hold his microphone right. He holds it at an angle, which is obviously not how you're supposed to hold a microphone. So, yeah, kind of weird that he holds his microphone at such a weird angle. But, I still think they did a fairly good job on him. And, yeah, Freddy figure. Very good figure. They did a good job. So the next one, we got Bonnie. I think the upper teeth on him look worse than all the other characters. His color though, they got the purple and the darker purple. I mean the darker purple and the lighter purple, pretty much spot on. Like I really like how they did the colors. The colors are pretty much perfect. But besides that, I can't really say because like his face just looks kind of off. And also there's an error with his torso, how it's kind of a lighter purple than the rest of him, which is very noticeable if I don't know, it's very noticeable to me, but I guess it doesn't really bother me that much since it's usually being covered up by his guitar and the paint on his stomach. So, yeah, not a huge awful deal. His eyes are purple and his eyes are actually red. A lot of people don't actually realize that Bonnie has red eyes. A lot of people think there's more of a magenta, but I don't know, they look pretty red to me. I think Bonnie has red eyes. So they made his eyes purple for some reason. I don't know why they had the red paint like a few centimeters away, but whatever. It's whatever. At least his eyes don't look tiny like Freddy's. The I don't know, his head shape just looks pretty off in general. I feel like Bonnie should be a lot more bulky looking on the head. But pretty good. He holds his guitar pretty awkwardly. But the guitar pretty much looks spot on. They're missing one of the little I don't know what it's called, the little black thing that holds the strings in. They're missing one of those, but I really don't care. It looks fine. Yeah, Bonnie, he looks pretty good. They gave him a tail too, which he doesn't have in the game, but I'm not gonna complain because I think he should have a tail. So yeah, Bonnie, pretty good. Now let's move on to Chica. Chica, very yellow, very has orange. Chica. This figure definitely looks the best. The upper teeth look the best on this one because they kind of look like the endoskeleton teeth that are usually facing through on Chica. I'm pretty sure that's what Funko was going for. They probably confused that for her upper teeth, which I get. I really get that. So I'm not really gonna complain about the upper teeth for this one because it really looks fine. It doesn't really bother me that much. The main issues I have with this one are, the dirt. I feel like the dirt on her, all the figures have like this little dirt effect with the paint job, which I think looks good on all the other figures, but I feel like they just kind of overdid it on Chica, or at least they should have done it a little less on Chica because of she's such a bright color. But, everything else looks good. You got the feet with the silver toes. A lot of people don't think they actually have that, but she does. She does have the silver toes that is in the game. Um, you can see it in a few shots. The thing people go to is the poster. I don't know. Chica's toes are kind of inconsistent. They're either silver or they're white. Um, but yeah. So the face looks pretty good. They did a really good job sculpting it. I think the eyes are a bit too small, and they're also orange, which I don't get. The eyes are supposed to be purple. I don't know where they got orange from, of all colors. It's not like pink or blue or something similar to purple. No, it's orange. But, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. Um, the the bib looks pretty good. Mine is obviously pretty scratched up, but yeah, pretty good looking figure. Um, Probably one of my favorites in the first wave. I can't. It's either Chica or Springtrap are my favorites in the first wave, but yeah, and then she also has the cupcake, and the cupcake looks perfect, which would be kind of pathetic if it didn't, because it's such a simple design. And the paint job is surprisingly really good. The plate might be a bit big, but that's kind of a stretch looking for complaints. Cupcake looks pretty good. But she can't really hold the cupcake right. I had to use putty to get her to hold the cupcake. So, yeah. But the cupcake looks pretty good. They're missing the stripes on his candle, but I don't know how they would have painted that with him being that small, so I don't really mind it. Next figure, Foxy. So, yeah, like I said, they made him bright orange, which, I don't like. I think he should have stayed the dark red, because that's how, I think the dark red just looks better. He's more of just a basic red in the game, but if I had to pick between the dark red and the orange, I definitely pick the dark red. But, yeah, Foxy, his sculpt is pretty good. His head looks kind of like a mixture of the Scott Cawthon version of Foxy and the Splinks version of Foxy. It's like they kind of meshed the heads together. They got confused with the models, so they just kind of combined the two. And it looks fine. I don't think his head looks too bad, but I also don't think it looks too good. The paint on him is pretty good. They got the brown eyebrows, and eyelid, which is pretty cool. I'm glad they got that detail. The endoskeleton in his chest is detailed, but it's not painted, which is kind of upsetting. All of his teeth are good teeth paint, because usually spiky teeth don't look very good when they're painted, but his look pretty good. His he's got a hook. His hook is very tiny. I really wish they made his hook bigger. So yeah, another thing to bring up with him is his endoskeleton feet and legs are there. So potentially, well, no, that's meant for Foxy, never mind, because they used Endo O2. But yeah, his endoskeleton legs, at least they're not Endo O2 legs. But they look pretty flat, like the feet in general just look pretty flat. They're very undetailed. There's no detail on them. They're pretty flat looking, like I said like 3 times. But then the upper part of the leg looks pretty good. And then his endoskeleton hand is pretty much perfect. I can't really think of anything wrong with it. And then his face, he's fine. He's a good figure. Besides the head shape being pretty off, like mainly in the jaw, his jaw should be a lot more, it shouldn't be really attached. His jaw is weird. It goes like down and then over to his snout. I don't know how else to explain it. But yeah. But the figures in 2019, they got re-released, and they were with prototype colors, but the only one where you can notice the prototype color is Foxy. He's got the weird dirt on his chest like the prototype. He's got the dark red. I can't tell if I prefer this one over the original, but I definitely do think he looks good better in the color department. Paint job, I probably think the original is better. They didn't bother to paint the chest still, the endoskeleton in the chest, but they also forgot to paint the eyebrows and the eyelid. They forgot to paint them brown, which is kind of interesting that they forgot that. But yeah, the metal on his legs and his hand is also slightly darker. So yeah, he's like a edgy version of Foxy, of the Foxy figure. So yeah, pretty good. You got edgy Foxy, um, or you got light Foxy. Pick which one you want. You're gonna have to pay more for the light Foxy though, because the darker one's still being sold, but the light one isn't. So yeah, um, I'm gonna take a break from recording because I. So, Golden Freddy, pretty good. It's just Freddy, but yellow, and his eyes are black. They didn't make his eyes caved in, but I know it bothers a lot of people, but it doesn't really bother me that much. Um, the dirt effects on him definitely look better than Chica because, he's supposed to be really dirty. Um, Golden Freddy, they did a really good job on him. If I could come up with any complaints that I didn't have for the original Freddy on him, I do think his torso is very bland looking. Like they didn't detail anything. There isn't even the dirt effects on it. So yeah, torso. There's no dirt on the torso, but besides that, pretty good. Um, yes. Now Springtrap. This is the first kind of super detailed figure that they made, and for what they had, he looks pretty good. Um, they got most of his little organs. There's one little I don't know what to call it. Let's call it just a spaghetti string. One of his little spaghetti strings on the top of the hole in his chest isn't painted, and it's painted green, which I find kind of weird, but it's cool. He doesn't have this button on his chest, but they probably just assumed that was another hole in him and didn't detail it. That's probably why they didn't do it. If they realized it was a button, it would be there. But, arms, pretty good. His hands definitely could be better. Like, his fingers just look very small. Or the middle of his hand is too big. One of the two, I don't know. His legs, pretty good. The feet are a little big, but obviously they did that so he could stand better. He's got a bunch of wires sticking out of his arms, and those look pretty good. His head, also got a bunch of wires. His ears are perfectly positioned. His teeth are pretty good. If anything, he looks a bit sad. Like Springtrap's supposed to have like a big scary smile, but instead he just kind of looks sad. Especially because of the eyes. The eyes make him look he looks depressed. His eyes are also green, which they should be kind of silver and swirly looking. But I guess it's fine that they didn't bother to detail. No, it's not. His eyes don't look very good. I don't like how they did his eyes. They're supposed to be like all swirly and crazy looking. Or at least they're supposed to have a silver hue with like a ring in the middle and a black dot. I don't know how. You know how Springtrap's eyes look. They're very distinct. But they got the red on the side of the eyes, which is good. It's just kind of a line of paint. It's not detailed to sculpted in or anything, but it's still appreciated. I also appreciate how much all the withering is indented. Like they definitely went all out with this figure. My biggest complaint with it is probably just the head. Because especially from the side, the sculpt on his head is very weird looking, and they definitely should have given him more of a smiling expression because he just looks sad. But yeah, Springtrap, pretty good figure. 7 out of 10. I didn't give a rating for any of the other ones, but 7 out of 10 for Springtrap. All right, let's move on to Wave 2. All right, so for prototypes. There's no prototypes for Wave 2, but there is a little bit for pre-release, or like, what they were planning on doing. So for the Funko released these little pen things, which were just pens with the characters' heads on them. And for series 2 of the pens, um I'm not actually 100% sure if these actually released, but they are pretty interesting. So one thing is that Nightmare Freddy's eyes are painted silver, which on the actual figure it's kind of just painted black, which I really wish the actual figures had silver eyes, um and they weren't just black. The only one they did was Nightmare Bonnie. They gave him white eyes for some reason. I don't know why they made him inconsistent. But at the same time, he would look kind of weird without that. Nightmare Bonnie's eyes are like the craziest looking. They also made a Springtrap pen, but that doesn't mean Springtrap was meant for Wave 2. That just means that they used another sculpt for it. But yeah, the main one here is Mangle. Mangle's head is here. Now, Funtime Foxy, or Fixed Mangle was in the wave, but my thoughts are that they were originally gonna put Fixed Mangle in the series. I mean normal Mangle in the series, but then they decided not to because it would be really hard to do. So then they just decided, you know what, we're gonna take this head and we're gonna turn it into that one thing from FNAF World. So then they did that, and that's pretty much the only pre-release stuff I can find for this series. Yeah, pretty disappointing, but you know, that's all. Sorry if there's background noise, but let's look at the first figure in Wave 2. The first one was surprisingly not Nightmare Freddy, and it was Jacko Chica. She was released a little bit before the rest of the wave as an exclusive at GameStop for Halloween. And I don't have the pumpkin, but I will pull up an image right now of the figure's pumpkin. It doesn't look too great. It's just the pumpkin, but with crappily painted on eyes and not very good. It's just the wrong color. So yeah, they didn't do a very good job on the pumpkin. But Jacko Chica herself looks pretty good. It's just the Nightmare Chica figure we'll be looking at later, but without the Nightmare cupcake and with transparent inside the head. And inside the head is this transparent orange plastic, and it's supposed to look like it's on fire. They probably should have also done the transparent orange inside of the torso, and maybe a little bit into the upper arms, because it just kind of looks cheap, you know? It is slightly of more orange tinted than the normal Chica, which is also appreciated. I don't really mind how this figure looks. I know a lot of people do, but I think this figure is pretty good. Pretty good for the first exclusive. It's definitely not a bad figure, and it actually glows in the dark. Not a lot of people know this, but it does glow in the dark. And it actually glows really well, and it glows red, which is pretty awesome. I think this figure looks really cool when it glows red. Yeah, Nightmare Chica. I mean Jacko Chica. Very good figure. It just needs a little bit of work. Hopefully this I'm thinking since Funko loves reusing molds nowadays, maybe they'll try to make a Jacko Bonnie this Halloween. That'd be nice, and maybe re-release Jacko Chica for the people who didn't get her, and for me who needs the pumpkin. So yeah, that's Jacko Chica. Let's move on to Nightmare Freddy, the true first figure in this series. Nightmare Freddy. The detail, not quite at the detail level of Springtrap, but he's pretty good. This is definitely the most detailed series. So he's got withering all over him, and it's all indented and well detailed. You can even see like the endoskeleton feet sticking through, which is a very appreciated detail. You can see he's just really, he looks cool. You can see a little bit of his endoskeleton in his chest. He has a freddle. A lot of people don't like how he doesn't come with 3 freddles, but honestly, I don't really care. I'm happy with 1. And the freddle looks really good. I have Putty on mine to hold him in his hand, but normally the freddle wouldn't have anywhere to sit. So You could just use some putty and put him anywhere on Freddy. You could put him on his shoulder, on top of his head, on his hand, on his leg, wherever you want to put it. I don't know. But yeah, there's the Freddle, and he's pretty cool. And then there's also his face. Like I said earlier, his eyes are just black with the little orange color in the middle, which is pretty disappointing. I really wish they actually bothered to detail the silver around his eyes, because they have the silver paint in the chest, so I really wish they bothered to do it for the eyes. But besides that, that's really the only complaint I really have. They did a really good job with his sculpt. Yeah, I'm really happy with how this figure turned out when he came out, and he's definitely a step up from Wave 1. The joints are also a lot more tight, but maybe a bit too tight. And another thing about Wave 2 is that if you pull back on the figure's heads, the torso will split in half. So don't do that if you have any Wave 2 figures. Don't try to make them look upward, because their torso will split in half. Yeah, so Nightmare Freddy, pretty good. Mine's torso actually did split in half at one point, but it's since been glued back together, and it's barely noticeable that he was broken at any point, so I'm happy he got fixed well. But yeah, very good figure, very good start. Now let's look at the next one. Nightmare Bonnie, who, honestly, he looks better. He looks better than Nightmare Freddy. You could see his whole endo sticking out of his chest, and it looks really nice. You can see his endoskeleton hand. They didn't bother to just reuse the same mold from Freddy. His hand is different. It's like all ripped open and stuff, and you can see all the robot parts. His hand looks really cool. One of his feet is ripped open too. He's just missing one of his feet, like Nightmare Bonnie. So yeah, very good. They did a very good job on the details. He's got his 3 segmented ears, his teeth, he's got his whiskers, and his eyes are painted white, which I'm really happy they did, because I think Nightmare Bonnie as a character, his eyes are just a little bit more crazy and less darkened than all the other characters, from FNAF 4. So yeah, I'm really happy that, they did that. I really wish it was on all the other characters, though. Yeah, so my only real big complaint, because the rest of him is pretty good, if anything, his head might be a little off proportion, but it's not a huge deal. My biggest complaint with him is the top of his head. He has like a big rip in the top of his head, and there's supposed to be endoskeleton in there, but there isn't any, which kind of sucks, because I really, really wish they detailed something there, because besides that, everything else on this figure is almost perfection, almost. So yeah, Nightmare Bonnie, really good. Next one, Nightmare Chica. Paint on the teeth are a lot more sloppy than it was on Jacko Chica. Like, the teeth paint is honestly kind of awful on this figure. But besides that, all the other paint's pretty good. The dirty effects look pretty good. The Nightmare Cupcake too, he's here. He looks really good. I didn't really mention this with Jacko Chica, but the broken bib with the endoskeleton there, that paint job is perfect. Like, I don't know how they even did that because it's one solid piece. I don't know how they did it where the letters actually look like they're parts of it has been ripped off. I don't know how they pulled that off, but it looks really good. So yeah, this figure is really good. I do think the head shape is really off, though. I didn't mention this with Jacko Chica, but I think the head shape should be a lot more tall, and like just Nightmare Chica and Jacko Chica's heads just look a little different than this. It's a lot less fat looking, I guess is the way to put it. But I didn't mention this with Jacko Chica. The leg sculpt is also unique to this figure, and it's really detailed. Like, you can see the endoskeleton ripping through all the pieces, and the paint job on this figure with the body and like the detail, it's just amazing. I can't believe they did it that well for Funko standards. That's really good. Nightmare Cupcake. Paint job really good. His stem, his little I almost called it a stem. His candle, is a little too short, honestly, but that's really a stretch. It looks fine. He's also attached to Chica's hand this time. He's not just an accessory. He's actually attached to her hand, and yeah, he looks all crazy. And I really like how this figure looks. This is a good figure. Um, Next one we got Nightmare Foxy. Um, Definitely a step down in detail. They did use this the endoskeleton trick that Nightmare Chica for his upper legs. Um, but his lower legs are full endoskeleton and it looks really good. His head is obviously a little off as expected from Funko. Um, his hook is a lot bigger than the original Foxy, which is a good thing. They definitely made his hook a lot bigger, and it looks so much better with the bigger hook. Yeah, I really like how they did this one. His chest is all it's just so you can see the tear in his chest at the bottom of his torso. There's no endoskeleton detail, which is kind of upsetting because compared to all the other figures, it just looks pretty bland inside. But yeah, eyes same as Freddy's eyes. Teeth paint really good teeth paint. They even got his jaw being missing on one side, or I mean caving in on one side, and it going further out on the other. I really like how they got that detail. The McFarlane Nightmare Foxy really exaggerated that, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, his nose looked pretty good. You can see the endoskeleton facing through. Overall, pretty good figure. I really like this one. Now, this next figure, I honestly don't think it should exist. It's Funtime Foxy from FNAF 2. This was supposed to be the Mangle figure. Like I said earlier, at least that's my reason why it exists. It's got the big hook from Nightmare Foxy. The body is pretty good. It's a unique mold for every part of the body, which is really nice actually. They did a really good job making it look nice. Like all the molds are unique. Like it's got a tail even. The eyelashes look more like big eyebrows, which looks kind of funny. They should have just left that out and forgotten the eyelashes since they couldn't really do it. But yeah, Funtime Foxy, pretty good. I really like. Makes me kind of wish that we got the other toy animatronics too. But you know, this one's fine. It's not Toy Freddy, but you know, it's a toy animatronic. It's cool. And it's based off the FNAF world design. So I guess this is our only canon. Well, I guess it's not canon, but it's our only official look at what Mangle looks like fixed. So that's pretty cool. Next one, this is the buildable figure. Springtrap, amazing. Nightmarian, I don't like Nightmarian. He's a bad figure. He shouldn't exist. I don't know why it wasn't Nightmare Fredbear. Literally, this would have been perfect if it was Nightmare Fredbear. I have no idea why it wasn't. Why would they choose Nightmarian? Nobody wanted Nightmarian. Nobody wanted Nightmarian. Nobody wanted this character. We want normal puppet, yeah, but we don't want Nightmarian. We want Nightmare Fredbear. So I don't really get why this guy exists. But you know, he looks pretty cool. He's got his tentacles. He's got his legs. He's fine. He can't stand that well. You have to lean him up against something. Overall, shouldn't exist. And not too happy that he does exist. But he's also not bad. So yeah. It's not Nightmare Fredbear, but it's fine. Alright, so here we got some price guides I've made. So you can just get a good idea of how much each figure is worth. So I'll pull them up right now.